They say you never forget the moment your heart breaks. But mine didn't break. It detonated. It started at Sullivan's Steakhouse on a Friday night that smelled of expensive perfume, medium-rare filet mignon, and fake laughter. The air was thick with expectation. I thought we were celebrating. Our anniversary was 3 days away. I had just gotten a raise at work. I'd even worn the cologne Emily once said reminded her of our first date. I was stupidly happy. I had no idea I was walking into a firing squad. She brought her 2 girlfriends, which was already weird. Emily hated mixing our private life with her bad beaches squad, as she called them. I never liked them. Taylor and Morgan, 2 spoiled socialites with Instagram-filtered personalities and minds like unbuttered toast. But I smiled, toasted, and laughed at their recycled TikTok stories. Midway through the main course, Emily dropped the bomb. She leaned back in her chair, tossed her wavy blonde hair behind her shoulder like she was in a shampoo commercial, and looked at me with pure venom. "You know, girls," she said, voice sweet but sharp. "I used to think I could fix ugly, but turns out, no amount of love can make this man attractive." Laughter. Loud. Sharp. Taylor spit her wine. Morgan almost choked on her steak. Me? I sat frozen, fork halfway to my mouth. Did she just, I started. But she raised her hand like I was a waiter who brought the wrong order. "Shoo, I'm not done." She stood up, reached into her purse, and dropped a single $20 bill on the table for a $280 meal. "I'm done pretending, Jason. You should be grateful I even dated you," she said, loud enough for half the restaurant to turn and stare. "A man like you? With that face? That boring life? You're lucky I didn't leave you sooner." Then she walked out. No, strutted out. Like it was a catwalk, not a relationship implosion. And as she disappeared through the double doors, a hush fell over the table. I smiled. Not because I was okay, but because something deep in my gut twisted into certainty. You know that feeling when something clicks in your brain and suddenly everything, all the late nights, the cold shoulders, the disappearing acts, makes disgusting, perfect sense? I waited. I paid the bill. I tipped well. And I walked out like I wasn't bleeding inside. The next morning, my phone lit up with 84 missed calls. 84. From Emily. From Taylor. From Morgan. And even a couple from a blocked number. The messages? A full emotional circus. First came the anger. "You made me look crazy. You embarrassed me. Why didn't you say something?" Then guilt bait. "You know I didn't mean it. I had too much wine. I was just stressed." And finally, panic. "Jason, please call me. It's not what you think. I need to explain. Please, don't do anything stupid." But I already had done something. At 3 a.m., after replaying that dinner moment in my head 100 times, I went downstairs and opened her laptop. She never logged out of her cloud. The pictures I found? Oh, we'll get there. But understand this. I didn't cry that night. I didn't scream. I didn't throw anything. I sat there, staring at a photo of Emily, my wife, wearing my hoodie, in our bedroom, grinning into someone else's face. A man's face, shirtless, his hand sliding up her thigh. I didn't know his name yet, but I would. And so begins this tale, not of heartbreak, but of clarity, of war, of truths I wish I'd never discovered. To think, it all started with a steak dinner and an insult that I didn't sleep that night. Not even for a second. You'd think after being humiliated like that in public, I'd cry, yell, punch a wall. But no. I sat in our kitchen, in the dark, while the ice in my whiskey melted and my laptop screen glowed like a ghost. Emily was careless. That was always her weakness. She'd lie like a pro, fake emotions like a soap actress, but when it came to technology, she was sloppy. She'd never logged out of her iCloud on the MacBook we shared when we first got married. I guess she forgot. Or maybe she just never thought I'd have the balls to look. I started with the photos. They say a picture's worth 1,000 words. These felt like 1,000 punches. There was one from 2 weeks ago. Her in a tight black dress I'd never seen before, sitting on some guy's lap. In a car. A BMW. His hand was on her thigh, sliding up, her head tilted back laughing, eyes shut like she was high on something forbidden. Next folder, screenshots. She saved their conversations. Why? No clue. Ego, probably. The thrill of it. She loved drama. She fed off it. His name was Caleb. Generic gym bro arms like tree trunks, tattoos all over. The kind of guy who takes mirror selfies in locker rooms and calls women females. She called him daddy. Yeah. Let that one sink in. I scrolled through their messages. It wasn't just dirty talk, though there was plenty of that. It was the intimacy that gutted me. The way she told him about her day. How she called him when she got the job promotion. How she sent him photos of our dog, Max, sleeping in our bed. My bed. They even joked about me. Jason's so clueless it's actually cute, she wrote once. I moaned your name last night and he didn't even notice. That one burned. I had noticed, actually, but I chalked it up to a bad dream. Or maybe my imagination. God, I was stupid. Around 5 a.m., I went upstairs and sat on the edge of the bed. Emily was still gone. Hadn't come back after the restaurant disaster. I didn't expect her to. Max jumped up beside me and rested his head on my lap. That dog had always been loyal. Unlike his owner. My phone buzzed again. Message number 85. Emily, I'm outside. Can we talk? I didn't reply. Instead, I turned off the lights, leaned back, and closed my eyes. You want to know the worst part of betrayal? It's not the lies. It's not even the cheating. It's realizing that the person who once looked at you like you were everything now sees you as nothing. Not even worth a decent goodbye. And it's not like we were perfect. God knows we had issues. She said I worked too much. I said she partied too hard. We'd go days without really talking, just existing beside each other like two strangers in a hotel lobby. But I tried. I loved her. Even in our mess, I stayed. Turns out she left a long time ago. She just hadn't packed her bags yet. I opened the door slowly, expecting a tear-streaked apology, a desperate hug, some pathetic excuse. But no. She stood there, flawless as ever, phone in hand, sipping a latte like it was just another Tuesday. You ready to talk like adults now? She said, one eyebrow raised, like I was the problem. I stared at her for a long second, then said calmly, Who's Caleb? And just like that, the smirk on her face vanished. Who's Caleb? Silence. A flicker. A twitch at the corner of her mouth. Her jaw clenched like she'd been hit, but she masked it fast. Emily blinked, smiled. Wow, so you did go through my stuff. That's low, Jason. I almost laughed. Low? After she humiliated me in public, after she crawled into another man's bed. I was the one crossing lines now? You didn't answer the question, I said, quieter this time. She rolled her eyes and leaned against the doorframe like we were chatting about groceries. He's nobody, just some guy I used to know. Don't be dramatic. Used to know. I pulled out my phone, opened one of the messages. Your hands feel better than his, Daddy. Sent 2 nights ago. Right after you told me you were working late at the salon. Her expression cracked. Just a flash. But I saw it. The twitch, the flinch, the way her mouth twitched like a faulty wire. Then, instead of guilt, she went full defense. Oh, grow up, Jason, she spat. What, you think I owe you some tearful confession? That you're some perfect little husband and I'm the evil witch who ruined everything? I think, I said, keeping my voice level, you owe me the truth. The truth? She laughed, actually laughed. Fine. Here's your damn truth. I haven't loved you in years. You bored me. You stopped being fun. You dress like a grandpa, talk like a therapist, and your idea of excitement is ordering dessert. You think that's enough to keep a woman like me? I said nothing, just stared. I tried, she went on. At the beginning, I did. But then I realized I married a man who thinks being nice is the same thing as being a husband. That one hurt more than I expected. You know, I said slowly, if you were so miserable, you could have just left. She scoffed. And give up the house? The lifestyle? The dog you love more than me? Please. So instead you cheated. She shrugged. I upgraded. A slap would have hurt less. I looked at her and realized I didn't recognize the woman standing in front of me. Not the one I proposed to. Not the one who used to cry watching Pixar movies. This woman, she was cold, sharp, like glass in a silk glove. You know what the worst part is? I said. It's not that you cheated. It's that you made me feel like I was crazy for suspecting anything. You gaslit me for months, lied to my face, and I still kissed you goodnight like a damn fool. She crossed her arms. What do you want from me, Jason? Tears? Guilt? I don't feel bad. I did what I had to do. I stared at her a long moment, then stepped back inside. I want you to pack your stuff, I said. Her eyebrows shot up. Excuse me? I want you out of this house. Today. She laughed again, mocking this time. You think you can just throw me out like I'm some trashy side piece? You are a trashy side piece, I said calmly. To someone named Caleb, apparently. She stormed in then, pushing past me like a storm in heels. You don't get to do this, Jason. This is my house too. I didn't flinch. Not anymore. She turned to scream something else, but then saw the packed bag sitting on the hallway bench. Her bag, already zipped, neat, her favorite heels sticking out of the top. You packed my stuff? I nodded. While you were blowing up my phone. Her face twisted. Rage, disbelief, maybe even fear, all jumbled into one final, desperate expression. But I didn't care anymore. Don't worry, I said, voice cold. I'll have a lawyer send you the papers. Jason. Goodbye, Emily. And I closed the door. Slowly, firmly. Finally, the silence after the door clicked shut was deafening. No yelling, no banging, just stillness. For the first time in weeks, maybe months, the house felt still. Empty in a way that wasn't physical but bone deep. Max sat by my feet, ears perked like he was waiting for the next explosion. I reached down, rubbed behind his ears, and whispered, "It's just us now, buddy." And then the walls closed in. I slumped to the floor, back against the door, my heart pounding in my ears. I hadn't cried during the confrontation. Not one tear. I thought maybe I was numb. But right there, in the quiet hum of our once shared home, it hit. It wasn't just anger anymore. It was grief. Like something had died, something sacred. Not just my marriage. Not just trust. But the version of myself that believed in her. I thought about the night I proposed. How I waited until sunset. How I fumbled the ring. How she laughed and cried and screamed, yes, like it was the happiest moment of her life. Was that fake too? Was she just acting then? I thought about our inside jokes. The Sunday morning pancakes. That dumb playlist we made on our honeymoon called Forever Vibes. She deleted it 2 months ago. I didn't even notice. I felt like a man waking up from a coma in someone else's life. How long had I been living with a stranger? I went upstairs, still dazed, and sat on the edge of the bed, our bed, and looked at the indent her body had made in the mattress. Like she'd just gotten up for a glass of water and would be right back. But she wouldn't. Not now. Not ever. I checked my phone. More missed calls. More texts. She'd stopped trying to explain. Now she was just insulting me again. You always had to be the victim. You're so dramatic. This is why I looked for someone else. You're not a man, Jason. You're a boy with a bank account. I blocked her, and still I hurt. I got up and walked around the house like a ghost. Every corner had memories. The hallway where she danced barefoot on Christmas morning. The kitchen where she burned eggs and blamed the stove. The couch where she once fell asleep on my chest, mumbling that she'd never leave me. I poured myself a drink, another one, and stood by the window, watching dawn spread over the neighborhood like a quiet secret. And I asked myself the one question I didn't want to answer. Was I not enough? That's the poison, isn't it? The cheating isn't just betrayal. It's a mirror. It forces you to look at every flaw, every weakness, and wonder if that's what pushed them away. Did I get too comfortable? Was I boring? Was I too soft? Too trusting? I hated that I still loved her. Even after everything. The lies, the affair, the restaurant humiliation. A piece of me still missed her. That's the worst betrayal of all. When you betray yourself by holding on. But I also knew something else. Deep down in that shattered place. She didn't break me. Not completely. She cracked something open. Something I needed to see. I'd built my identity around being a good man, a loyal husband, a provider, and somewhere along the way I forgot that I deserved respect too. I wasn't some placeholder until she found someone hotter or wilder. I was a man who gave everything to a woman who saw him as nothing more than a stepping stone to her next thrill. Well, not anymore. Tomorrow I'd call the lawyer. Tomorrow I'd change the locks. But tonight I'd mourn. Not for her, but for the man I used to be. The next morning I woke up on the living room floor. No blanket. No pillow. Just Max curled up next to me like he was guarding what was left of me. Sunlight streamed through the blinds. It was too bright, too clean. The kind of morning light that doesn't care how wrecked your life is. I sat up slowly, head pounding, heart heavy. My phone was still on the coffee table, silent now. No more texts from Emily. No more calls. Maybe she got the message. Or maybe Caleb finally answered hers. I didn't care. It was time to make the call. I'd never contacted a lawyer in my life. I didn't even know where to start. But a friend at work, Matt, had gone through a brutal divorce last year. I remembered how quiet he'd gotten during it, how much weight he lost, how cold and sharp his eyes had become. We all assumed it was just divorce stuff. Now I understood. It wasn't the paperwork. It was the loss of dignity. The soul-splitting realization that the person you trusted most was the one who stabbed you deepest. I dialed him. "Jason," he answered, surprised. "Hey man, you good?" I paused. "No," I said flatly. "She cheated. And I'm done." The silence on the other end told me everything. "You want my lawyer's number?" he finally asked. "Yeah." 10 minutes later, I was on the phone with a woman named Dana Price, a divorce attorney who sounded like she'd seen the worst of humanity and stopped flinching years ago. She didn't ask if I was sure. She didn't ask if I wanted to try counseling. She asked one question. "Do you want full separation? Or are you looking to play nice?" I thought about Emily's words. "You should be grateful I even dated you." I almost laughed. "Full separation," I said. "As fast and clean as possible." Dana didn't sugarcoat anything. I respected that. She explained the process. What assets were joint. What to expect emotionally. How the legal system doesn't care about affairs, unless you can prove financial betrayal. I had screenshots, credit card statements, Uber trips that ended in hotels. She said, "That'll help." After the call, I stood in the middle of the kitchen, realizing how quiet the house was. Too quiet. For the first time, it didn't feel like our house anymore. Felt like mine. Emily hadn't come back to pack the rest of her things. She'd taken the emergency bag, the cosmetics, a few clothes, but most of her crap was still here. Her shoes lined up like nothing ever happened. Her perfume still on the dresser, the one she wore when she'd come home late and lie straight to my face. I grabbed a box from the garage and started tossing things in. No ceremony. No hesitation. The red dress she wore on our anniversary when she was already probably texting Caleb. Gone. The framed photo of us in Maui, face down in the box. The wifey mug she used every morning to drink my coffee and lie to my face, in the trash. It was like shedding skin. With every item I packed, I felt lighter. Not better, not yet, but clearer. I was deciding who I wanted to be after her. Not the man who begged. Not the one who stayed just to be stepped on. But the man who drew a damn line. I changed the locks that afternoon. Called my credit card company. Moved her name off the joint account. I even sat down and wrote her a message I never sent. "You didn't break me. You freed me." I didn't send it because I didn't owe her closure. I owed myself peace. And for the first time in weeks, I felt like I had some dot. It's strange, the way someone's absence can still fill a room. Even after Emily was gone, her clothes boxed, her name off the bank account, her scent fading from the sheets, it felt like she was still here. Like her shadow had soaked into the walls. Like her lies were whispering from every corner. I started noticing things I'd missed before. Little things. There was a small scratch on the kitchen table from when she dropped her phone last Christmas. I remembered how she laughed, made a joke about needing a new table anyway. I thought it was innocent. Now I wondered if she was texting him even then. In the bathroom drawer, I found an unopened bottle of cologne I gave her for our anniversary. She hadn't even taken it out of the packaging. Just shoved it behind her makeup. That hit harder than it should have. She never wanted to wear my scent on her. She wanted to smell like him. I was cleaning out the guest room when I found the second phone. Tucked under the bed, between two old sweaters we never unpacked after our last move. At first, I thought it was mine. I hadn't seen that case before, but it looked familiar. Then I opened it and the screen lit up. 12 unread messages from C. I didn't even hesitate. My hands shook, but I tapped in the code. Her birthday. She was that lazy. The messages weren't just recent. They were from the day after I kicked her out. C. Don't let him manipulate you. C. You deserve better. He's just trying to control you. C. Move in with me. For real this time. C. Did you tell him about the baby? I dropped the phone. Baby? My stomach turned. My mind raced through every possibility. Was she lying to him? Was it real? Was it mine? I sat there for an hour, phone on the floor, heart pounding. Then I did something I promised myself I wouldn't. Called her. Straight to voicemail. I didn't leave a message. I didn't need to. She'd know why I was calling. She'd feel the fire behind the silence. I didn't sleep that night. I just sat at the dining table, staring at the phone like it might confess something on its own. The thought of her carrying someone else's child, or worse, lying about it, felt like a knife twisting inside me. If she had been pregnant while sleeping with both of us, I didn't want to finish the thought. The next morning, someone knocked on the door. It wasn't Emily. It was Taylor, one of her witchy little friends. I opened the door, already ready to slam it shut. She looked different, though. Less makeup. Nervous. She was holding something, a small black journal. Jason, she said, biting her lip. I'm not here to defend her. I just thought you should see this. What is it? I asked. She handed me the journal. It's hers. She left it at my place. I read it. I shouldn't have, but I did. And you need to. I hesitated. Why are you helping me? Taylor looked down. Because she lied to all of us. Not just you. And then she turned and walked away. I closed the door and stared at the journal. My hands trembled as I opened it. Inside were pages of rage, confessions, twisted fantasies. Scribbled rants about feeling trapped. About hating the life of a housewife. About how she never wanted kids, but told me she might someday, just to keep me. But one line stood out. Written in red ink, underlined twice. If he ever finds out about Caleb, I'll say the baby's his. He's too soft to question it. I slammed the journal shut, and something inside me snapped. I didn't know what real betrayal felt like until I read that red-inked line. If he ever finds out about Caleb, I'll say the baby's his. He's too soft to question it. That wasn't just dishonesty. That was manipulation with a loaded weapon. She planned it. She knew what she was doing. She would have let me raise Caleb's child, call it my own, watch it sleep in a crib I built, and smile every time I picked it up, all while laughing behind my back. And she called me weak? I sat with the journal for hours, reread it, studied it. It wasn't just filled with her fantasies and frustrations. It was a confession booth without forgiveness. The page corners were creased from pressure. Words scratched deep like she wanted to carve them into the paper permanently. As if she knew someday someone would read it. Well, I did. And I wasn't going to stay quiet. I didn't want revenge. Not really. That's not who I am. But there's a difference between revenge and truth. And the truth needed to bleed. That afternoon, I posted something online. Just a paragraph. No names. No drama. Just a quiet storm. When your wife cheats on you, lies to your face, gaslights you for months, and tries to pin someone else's baby on you, you start to understand that love isn't always soft. Sometimes it's a mask for control. Don't ignore the signs. And don't be afraid to walk away. She said I wasn't a man. She was right. I'm something stronger. I didn't tag anyone. I didn't need to. Within an hour, my inbox exploded. People from college, old friends, coworkers. Some were shocked. Some weren't. A few sent me screenshots. Emily had apparently been bragging to some of them in private chats about how she got away with murder and had Jason wrapped around her pinky. Turns out, not everyone was her fan. Some people, especially other women, hated how she treated me. One girl I barely knew from work sent me a long message. She used to come into the salon bragging about how dumb you were. You deserve better. If you ever want to grab a drink and talk, hit me up. I didn't reply. I wasn't ready for that. But it felt good. Not the attention, the clarity. For the first time, I could see who Emily really was without the fog of love messing with my vision. That evening, she came back. Not to apologize. Not to explain. But to scream. She banged on the door like a lunatic. I opened it just far enough for her to see me and nothing more. "How dare you put our business online?" she shrieked. "Everyone's calling me, Jason. I lost 3 clients today because of you." I didn't flinch. "You lost them because they saw who you are." Her voice dropped to a hiss. "You think you're innocent? You embarrassed me. Publicly. You think that makes you some hero?" "No," I said. "It makes me free." She stared at me like she didn't recognize me. Maybe she didn't. Maybe she thought I'd still fold. Let her back in. Forgive her like some weak doormat begging for scraps. But those days were dead. "I read the journal," I said calmly. "I know about the baby lie. You crossed the line, Emily." She paled just for a second, then masked it with her usual venom. "You read my private thoughts? You plan to ruin my life. I had the right to read your damn soul." She slapped the door. "You're a FANG psycho." "No," I said, voice like ice. "I'm a man who finally saw the fire you lit under his life and decided not to burn with it." Then I shut the door in her face. And I smiled. Not because I was over it, but because I was finally becoming someone she could never touch again. The court date came faster than I expected. Divorce proceedings don't drag when one side's got nothing left to fight for. Emily didn't show up for the preliminary hearing. Her lawyer did. Some guy with slicked back hair, a Rolex too big for his wrist, and an attitude soaked in cheap superiority. He tried to negotiate. Said things like amicable settlement and shared assets. He wanted half the house, half my savings, spousal support. I slid a folder across the table. Printouts of her messages with Caleb, timestamps, hotel receipts, and that journal Taylor gave me, copied page for page. He looked at it. His face went blank. I didn't yell. I didn't argue. I just sat there calmly while my attorney, Dana, tore through their claims with the precision of a surgeon. I didn't even need to speak much. When we finally walked out of that office, Dana turned to me and said, "I've seen messes, but that woman, she's toxic waste in heels." I nodded. "So I've learned." By the final hearing, Emily finally showed up. She came dressed like a widow at a funeral. Black dress, fake tears, dramatic sighs. But her act didn't land. The judge wasn't impressed. Neither was I. She tried to play the victim. Talked about emotional neglect, about how Jason checked out of the marriage. Said I was cold, distant, controlling. She even brought up the journal, claimed it was fictional venting, never meant to be taken seriously. I waited until she was done with her little performance. Then I stood. "I'm not here to win," I told the judge. "I'm not here for revenge. I'm here for freedom." The woman sitting across from me made a choice. Repeatedly. To lie. To cheat. To manipulate. And worst of all, to weaponize the idea of family against me. I turned to Emily. "You used me. Not just financially. Emotionally. Spiritually. You humiliated me in public. Laughed about it in private. And tried to pin a child on me that might not even be mine." She tried to interrupt. The judge silenced her. I continued. "I'm not asking for sympathy. I'm asking for closure. I don't want her money. I don't want the car. I just want her gone." I could see the rage behind her eyes. That boiling fury that came not from losing, but from no longer being able to control me. The judge ruled in my favor. She got nothing but her belongings and the shame she earned. I kept the house, Max, my peace, my name untainted. As we left the courtroom, she followed me out. "You really think you're better than me now?" she hissed, heels clacking behind me. I stopped, turned around. "No," I said. "I was always better. I just didn't see it until you tried to destroy me." She opened her mouth, probably to launch one last verbal grenade. But I walked away, didn't even give her the pleasure of seeing my face again. It's been 6 months since that day. The house is quieter now, lighter, no shadows lingering in the corners. I remodeled the bedroom, changed the locks, got new sheets, even painted the walls. Max still waits by the door sometimes, like he expects her to come back. But he doesn't whimper anymore. Neither do I. I started therapy, picked up old hobbies, guitar, photography, hiking, things I stopped doing to spend more time with her, which really meant waiting for her to come home from wherever she actually was. I've met someone new, slowly, carefully, not rushing, not desperate, just learning how to feel again without fear. But the biggest change? I respect myself now. The old me? He thought love meant sacrifice at all costs, that forgiveness was endless, that being a good man meant staying no matter what. The new me knows better. So if I could tell anyone going through what I did one thing, it'd be this: you don't have to stay in the fire just because you lit the first match. Sometimes walking away is the bravest thing you'll ever do. And sometimes survival isn't just about breathing. It's about finally learning to live.